Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Graystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Graystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. If you're listening to this for the first time, welcome. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if you haven't listened to the rest, go back and start at number one. It's in a specific order. It's not like the kind of podcast that you can kind of pick up, although you might get valuable nuggets from each one. It's best to start from the beginning because they're taking you on a kind of strategy journey of a quest for financial freedom. So, welcome anyway. Hope you're enjoying lockdown. We're all in a pandemic lockdown at the time of this recording, and we're about on week 8, I think, or maybe week 9. I don't know anymore. But hope you're safe. Hope you're well. This week's podcast is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be one of those where I just kind of rattle off the cuff, and sometimes I have bullet point ideas that I want to talk about. This week, it's really just going to be me talking about. I've had a lot of conversations. I've been featured in a lot of Facebook group lives and Zoom calls, and I've had lots of kind of discussions. I've done podcast interviews and all this kind of stuff, and I've had lots of discussions over the last week, 2 weeks. And so I've got a few things on my mind that I just want to kind of touch on. And this may be a little bit of a shorter episode. It might be a longer episode. Depends how long I decide to ramble on for. But the first thing I want to really touch on, and it kind of became very, very apparent, and I've mentioned it before, is now we're in this lockdown period. Now we're in this kind of period where we're all... And this is going to be specifically talking to a certain person. I'm talking specifically to the people that are actually enjoying lockdown. Okay. Now, the people that are really enjoying lockdown usually are the ones who, there's two types really. It's one, the people that just love smashing through business and cracking out, and working on their business. Great. They're the people that are enjoying lockdown. Their lives haven't really changed if they're in a position where their kind of business model hasn't really changed that much and they love business. Their life hasn't changed that much. But there's also the people who are loving lockdown who have just got this space, this real 60,000 foot view down on what their life's been doing, and it's really given them a chance to think differently. Many of them are getting an income of some sorts, and they're in this place where their animal brain is kind of relieved. People have cut massively on their expenses. They've realized how little they actually need, and they're in this place where they actually feel good. It's like, wow, this is what I needed. I've been able to think about doing things that I should have been doing 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and I'm actually getting them done now. Or, it's making me think of my business in a different way. It's making me more creative because I'm thinking about stuff that I actually want to do instead of getting tied up into the day-to-day crap that I didn't like doing in my business or in my job. And this is essentially the feeling of the start of financial independence. So the feeling that most of those people are in right now is the feeling that most people strive for when they're stuck running a business. So look, when I decided to put together a Tears of Freedom program, as I say, I was surrounded by tons of really talented and highly successful entrepreneurs, and they all wanted this lockdown. It's like they wanted this moment. This is when you would ask them what would be ideal for you, they would tell me it's what you've got. It's the ability to be able to just sit and think and be creative and decide what you want to do each day. Well, welcome to lockdown. Welcome to financial independence, where you've got your income covered and you've got some income coming in enough to pay for your kind of more thrifty lifestyle now, and you can be creative. You're thinking differently. So really what the Tears of Freedom program does is allow people to be in this state constantly. That's the idea. This is the objective. It's to be able to get up every day and have that 60,000 foot view. Be creative, do things that inspire you. So it's really interesting because many of the people I've been speaking to are now in this position, and it's like, and they're telling me, it's great, it's amazing. This is what I've been wanting. I've been wanting a break from my business. I've been wanting to get this time off, and I'm loving it. So I wanted to kind of touch on that because I want to, that is a blessing in disguise. If you're in that position, this is where you want to use that time to think about what your business looks like when we come out of lockdown. When we're coming out, how are you going to make sure that this is continuous, this is ongoing? If something didn't work in your business and you had to get furloughed, or you had to furlough yourself, or your business couldn't quite carry on, what was broken about it? This is where you can use that creative mind to think how you can build a contingency plan for that, or an innovation, or a reinvention in some part of your business that's going to allow you to not be in that position ever again. And what you want to do is create a system, or you want to be able to deliver a service that will allow you to still live like you're in lockdown, where you can choose what you do each day, you're controlling your lifestyle costs, you've got the freedom of time, you've got your time wealthy, and you can think higher picture, bigger picture, higher vision. And that's a great insight that I've gleaned from talking to some of these entrepreneurs on my discovery calls over the last couple of weeks. It's been amazing. And people have been realizing how little they actually need. They're like, I realized I don't need all that stuff that I had before. That stuff I was paying for, I'm doing fine without it. Although their income might have been cut slightly, more importantly, their lifestyle costs have been cut. And it's much easier to cut lifestyle costs than it is to go and earn more money, right? So another insight that I've got from speaking to people over the last couple of weeks is the fact that whenever I kind of talk about income streams and developing more of them, they seem to be closed to the fact of doing that. They're like in animal brain mode, and they're kind of, oh no, I can only, I've got to get my business working, or I'm happy with my job, so I'm not going to be looking at doing other stuff. I just want to focus on my job. And they're kind of getting on that hamster wheel of getting stuck in one income stream. And I asked the people, I say, look, how many expense streams have you got? And they tell me, they were saying, well, I've got about 16 or 17 expense streams. And I say, well, how many did you have 20 years ago? And they said, well, 5, 6. And I say, so you're increasing your expense streams, but you're not increasing your income streams. And it kind of made the cogs turn. And what I was really getting at is, look, if you can open your mind a bit, there's no, you shouldn't be thinking that you should be stuck to one income stream. It doesn't matter if you're just focusing on your job. If you can see 60,000 foot view down, you can see opportunities, you can see partnerships, you can see collaborations, you can see digital products that you can deliver 24/7 and have a leveraged income stream from that. You can learn to invest and get a dividend yield in return from that as an income. You can learn to trade and get a return from that if you want. But really, just in business alone, you can form partnerships, you can do affiliate deals, you can get people on board to make your product or service even more valuable, and you get something for free. So it's not always about income either. It's about paying for your lifestyle, because that's all we need cash for. All we need cash for is to pay for our lifestyle. So if you can do an exchange that's effortless, where it means that you get something in your life that you normally pay for free, well, then that's a bonus. That's a income. That's an income generator. Even though you're not actually producing income, you've saved that money. So your income will rise. So thinking about that, and I've always spoke about, your income going into one bucket and the expenses going out, and you kind of control that. I want you to think about throwing as many income streams into that bucket as possible so that you're trying to flood the bucket, right? And then the next thing people say when I tell them that is, yeah, look, I know I need all this stuff, and I know like your program sounds amazing, and I just don't think that I'm ready for it because I'm not generating any income. I'm not generating enough income. So I do want to invest, and I do want to set up my banking, and I do want to know how to invest and trade and all this kind of stuff. But when I start earning more income, I'll do it then. And I have to say, that's the completely wrong way of looking about it. So I want to pose a little situation to you now that might shift your mindset slightly. So I want you to imagine that you've crashed in the desert, okay? So you're on a plane, you've crashed down in the desert, and you're in the middle of the Sahara Desert. It's baking hot, and there's all kind of debris and containers and kind of these big containers off of the plane. Let's say you was on a cargo ship, right? And you've got all these containers and buckets around you. And all you're thinking about is how thirsty you are. And you're sitting there praying for it to rain so that you can have a drink. And your mouth is so dry, and the heat is 40-degree heat, and you're sweltering, dripping with sweat, dehydrating, and all of a sudden the clouds come over. And the sky goes grey, it goes dark, and you feel the patter of rain on your shoulders, right? So you look up, you've been waiting for 4 days for it to rain. So you look up, you finally go, oh, thank God. You open your mouth wide, try and catch all the rain. It starts torrential rain, and you're catching the rain in your mouth and drinking, and it feels so nice in your throat. And then 5 minutes later, the rain stops. And what you didn't do is you didn't take the time to prepare to catch that rain. You didn't get the buckets and the containers and set them all up so that you could catch as much rain as possible so that you could live even further into the future. Instead, you just have your quick, short drink because you're focused on one drink, and as soon as that drink's over, you've then got to go on to the next drink and find the next drink. You've got to hope and pray that it rains again and again and again and again, instead of having the systems there so when it does start raining, you're filling them buckets. You are literally filling your wealth liquidity system as efficiently as possible, which means you can then live and buy time into the future. And when I talk about income as water and liquidity, that is why, because it's so easy to understand that concept. And if you're not setting the system up before you get income, you're doing it wrong. That is absolutely the priority. Before you get income, you want to set this thing up so it's ready to go. Otherwise, you're probably never going to do it. You won't ever do it. You'll just get on that hamster wheel and you'll say, yeah, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. Before you know it, you're stressed out. You wish you was back in lockdown and you're working your ass off. Okay? So think about that. Let that kind of simmer. And if you got value from that, let me know. If you got any comments or questions, let me know. I wanted to share that with you. Just kind of, this is what people are saying to me. So this is just purely based on conversation. I'm having these conversations with people during these strategy sessions or discovery sessions, and this is what they're saying. And just to kind of finish off here, I want you to think of, in terms of income and what you do to produce income, because I always say that there's really only 4 components to income generation. It is, first of all, value. Okay, so provide as much value as you possibly can, and you won't have problem with income. Then, second of all, you want to raise your profile so that you can get your message out and your value to as many people as possible. And then third of all, you might consider serving a different demographic, perhaps a higher income earner, so that whatever value you're providing to someone, if you provide that value and you have a big impact on someone's life, well, if you go and do that to someone who's earning 10 times the amount, then what you charge for that product or service, you're going to get paid more. And then finally, it's the amount of times that you can serve people. So this is where income streams come into it. You don't want to be focused on one income stream. Okay, you want to be focused on multiple income streams. How can I serve that person more than once? When they buy my product or service, what's going through their head at that point, and how can I complement that feeling with another product or service. Once they've achieved the result with my product, what's going through their head then? What do they need next? How can I develop a product or service that will serve their next step in the journey? Is there someone I can partner with who already does that, who can provide the service and I get a cut? So really, value, if you focus on value and you focus on the amount of people you can reach, okay, so multiple, the more people you can reach, the better, and you focus on ideal clients who are earning the income bracket that you're going after to change their life, and they'll happily pay you. And then if you can focus on the amount of income streams, the different ways you can serve them, if you multiply those things together and only work on those 4 things, your income will only ever go up. It can only ever go up. It's impossible not to go up. So if you're struggling for income ideas and you've got all this time in lockdown to think about how you can really ramp up your business, those 4 things are something you can focus on. And if you've got value from this, guys, share it around. I really hope that you're enjoying this podcast. I've had a lot of great reviews, and if you haven't left a review, please do. We've almost got 250 reviews on iTunes, and I really appreciate if you leave a review. I do read them all, and it keeps me motivated to keep this podcast going. So that's it for this week, guys. Bit of a rant and a tangent, but it was one of those days, one of those weeks. I'm going to get out in the sun. So stay safe and stay well. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongraystone.com.